2021, he has published 40 plus papers in SCI journals, including 6 articles in fuel energy conversion management and 4 articles in environmental science and pollution research and 7 articles in reputed journals such as Journal of Clean Air Production, Applied Thermal Engineering, Renewable Energy, Atmospheric Pollution Research, Journal of Energy Institute, and much more. One of his credit that he's having a H index of 21, I index of 32, and a total citation of 1606. And he has an Indian utility patent granted by his name in the stream of low cost heterogeneous catalyst. He has also applied for 2 other patents in the area of internal combustion engine and waste heat recovery system. And also he has completed 1 sponsored project from Tamil Nadu State Council for Science and Technology, Chennai. So we should be proud of having such an expert in the area of electrical vehicles with us. We welcome you, sir, to be a part of this FDP.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Sir, I am making you the co-host.
Okay.
Is sir audible to all?
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether the screen is visible?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So, thank for the brief introduction. I would like to thank the management head of the institution, organizer, for giving me such an interesting opportunity to explore my perspective on the basics of electric vehicle in your interesting FDP. So, it seems already I am delayed by some 10 to 15 minutes. So, without further delay, let me just move into the presentation. So the overall presentation is scheduled in this particular fashion, where I will just make you to walk through the brief introduction about EV. Then we will just try to understand what is battery thermal management and what are the recent research progress that is happening in battery thermal management. And with a brief conclusion, we will just wind up today's session. So in most often cases, I will just try to make the presentation with a recent news, so that way you can just try to understand the importance of this particular topic. So India is poised to be one of the largest electric mobility market in the coming decade. So one main reason is because of its higher population and government push curb pollution and reduce reliance on the import of fossil fuel. So you can just see the fluctuation of crude oil prices keep on increasing, and the penetration of EV is slowly making its mark in the automotive market, particularly in India. And one more interesting news that is in air for past 10 to 15 days is that Zomato has made one huge statement. So Zomato commits 100% adoption of electric vehicles by 2030. So Zomato has pledged that it will convert all their door-to-door vehicles that are presently they are making use to be converted into electric vehicle by 2030, and they have also encouraging green vehicles. So they are also encouraging people to make use of cycles to make door-to-door deliveries. And it is not that only Zomato, Flipkart has also joined hand with Zomato, and they have also made the same pledge that by the end of 2030, most of their vehicle that they make use of door-to-door delivery would be completely get transformed into electric vehicle. So one thing that is common in both the news is that the term electric vehicle. So the basics of electric vehicle should be much more understood at this particular point of time. And I would like to thank the organizer and the management for picking this particular topic and having a very good research persons and discussing in this common research forum. And when you talk about electric vehicles in common, the another thing that strike our mind is that the charging station, because when the electric vehicle is keep on increasing, people should focus on the charging station also. So the charging station is also keep on increasing at this particular point of time. So Tata has installed more than 400 EV charging station across India, and they are targeting 700 plus charging station by the end of December. So this is all the current news that lies in air as of now, and you can just try to understand the importance of this particular electric vehicle basics and its need to the research forum at this particular point of time. And talking about the road to EV adoption, review of government target policies. So electric two-wheelers, e-rickshaws and good carriers would receive an incentive of around 30K, whereas electric cars would receive an incentive of ranging from 10 to 150K. It is the policy based on particular Delhi, and government also make public charging facilities for every 3 kilometers in Delhi. So one thing that strikes in the mind when you talk about this EV policies in India, one great initiative that India has taken is that so the policies has been scheduled according to their state or regional impact. So the state policy or the EV policy is not common for uh, all over India. So each and every state can have their own EV policy according to their regional impact. So for a better example, let me just put it in this way. So in Delhi, the charging station has been planned for every 3 kilometers. But whereas in Tamil Nadu, the charging station is planned for every 25 kilometers. So this is how the EV policy has been altered or modified according to their regional impact. Because as Delhi is highly polluted, people are asked to get switch over from internal combustion engine to EV. So when you are just trying to make a huge transition in such a highly populated locality, then you need to think about the charging station point also very close to the transportation part. So in reliance with that, you can just see Delhi policy, Delhi EV policy has been scheduled with charging station for every 3 kilometers. And that is not the same for Tamil Nadu. So for Tamil Nadu, they have planned the charging station for every 25 kilometers. So this says that the state policy has outlined a good mix of demand incentives for promoting EV adoption in their particular region. So according to their regional impact, and similarly for Punjab, it will have its own policy based upon their regional impact and how the penetration of EV is in their own region, and what is the population of EV would be targeted for next 10 to 20 years. Accordingly, the charging station need to be installed. And a road tax exemption complement the FAME 2 purchase, and currently we are in the scheme of FAME 2. Purchase subsidies should be implemented at the earliest, and as of now government has merely increased 10 to 30%. I'm not exactly clear about the number. They have clearly increased the incentive of purchase of electric vehicle at this particular point of time. So all put together, the road of EV adoption is making its greater pathway in India as of now. And talking about the electric vehicle population in India, in 2014, the penetration of EV was not too high, but as the year keep on increasing, the penetration of EV is making its mark. It's making its own mark in the automotive market field. Moreover, by 2030, the penetration of EV would reach its maximum is what is projected at this particular point of time. So it is aligning well with whatever the news we have read earlier. So we have discussed about Zomato, Flipkart, and moreover Amazon and other online marketers would soon join hand to convert all their door-to-door delivery vehicle into EV by 2030. All put together, the penetration or the number of vehicles, particularly in road by 2030, would be enormously high. So this is what is the electric vehicle population as of now in 2021 and 2030 would be predicted. And talking about the number of vehicles sold in India is that by 2010, the number of vehicles sold in India was dominant by only pure internal combustion engine. But as the year keep on increasing, the penetration of either hybrid vehicle or EV has started to make it mark. So aligning well with this statement, you can just see the news below. But let me just discuss more about the slide as of now. So by 2010, most of the vehicles that has been sold was dominant by only the internal combustion engine. And after that, as of now in 2021, people have started to think about, the green color talks about hybrid vehicle or plug-in hybrid vehicle. So people have started to think about making use of either hybrid vehicle or plug-in hybrid vehicle, and it would share nearly 10 to 15% of the market share by 2021. So aligning well with this particular statement, so new Yamaha Fasino is coming up with its 125cc hybrid vehicle market. So Yamaha has started its hybrid vehicle variant of Fesino, and it is a mild hybrid vehicle part. It belongs to a mild hybrid vehicle part. Before mild, you will have micro and full hybrid. So this Fesino is targeting on mild hybrid vehicle part where you will have a smart motor generated system coupled with this existing vehicle with a new Fesino 150cc hybrid function as an electric motor to give a power assist when the rider accelerated from the standstill condition. So assume you are just stuck in a signal and you are just trying to accelerate your vehicle to start over from the signal point. So at this particular point of time, you will just try to turn over your accelerator pedal or your accelerator handle at a very faster rate. So to respond to that huge acceleration, apart from internal combustion engine, certain amount of power would be delivered from this electric motor to handle the demand that has been raised by the user. So here the power assist would be handled by the electric motor coupled with the internal combustion engine. So just by introducing a motor and a battery system to your existing vehicle, you can just coin your vehicle as a hybrid vehicle. And based on the DOH, the percentage of based on the DOH percentage variation, you can just coin your vehicle as micro, mild, full hybrid. So there are different variants about it. Just giving a brief idea, you can just see the penetration of hybrid vehicle has started as we are just marching towards 2021 or 2030. And at this particular point of time, you can just see that most of the vehicle would be converted from rather pure internal combustion engine to hybrid vehicle. So in terms of hybrid vehicle, you will be trying to club and motor come battery system to this existing vehicle, and sooner or later the penetration of hybrid vehicle will reach its maximum and the internal combustion engine will slowly lose its market share when you are just getting closer to 20, 40 or above. And after that, the market would be most dominantly shared by either plug-in hybrid vehicle or hybrid vehicle and pure EV. So this is how the market would be predicted, or market would be suggested that would take place for next 20 to 30 years. By 2050, you can just assume that most of the vehicle would be either hybrid vehicle or pure EV. So this EV can be either fuel cell based vehicle or solar based vehicle. We won't move further into it, but this is the current market scenario at this particular point of time. And before moving into the current presentation, let me just give you a brief idea about the history of electric cars. So nothing under New Horizon. Both electric cars and internal combustion engine both started their career at the same time scale. So electric cars has been around for more than 100 years, and it is aligning well with the career scale of the internal combustion engine. It was in 1832 the first crude electric vehicle was developed. So think about or note down the time scale. It was in 1832 the first crude electric vehicle was introduced, and it was in 1893 the internal combustion engine was get commercialized. The internal combustion engine was commercialized. So if you just see the time scale, both have started their career in the same time scale, but somehow the EV has been suppressed to a greater percentage, and only the internal combustion engine was ruling the world. But even at that particular point of time, you can just see this particular statement. It was in 1899. The electric cars gained popularity. So particularly among the society women. So the society women highly preferred electric vehicles rather picking an internal combustion engine, because think about the internal combustion in the earlier stage. You need to have an external device to crank your engine to start it. So you need to give external force to start your engine. And whatever the emission this particular vehicle emit at that particular point of time, that is at exactly 1900, the emission was not under the screening part. So they doesn't have stringent emission norms at that particular point of time. So whatever the emission that vehicle emit was enormously high. So all put together, the society women highly preferred electric vehicles in their early stage. But even though they have also get switched over to internal combustion engine later on, but this is how both the internal combustion engine and EV have started their career at the same time scale. And it was in 1901 that Edison takes on electric vehicle with batteries. So they have tried to incorporate battery along with the electric vehicle, and people have also started to think about making use of both internal combustion engine and EV into a single system. So the world first hybrid electric car was invented in 1901. So the world first hybrid car was introduced in 1901. But whatever the news that we have read earlier, it was in 2021. We are discussing about the hybrid two-wheelers. So what happened for this particular 100 plus years? So for this 100 plus years, only the pure internal combustion engine was ruling the entire world. And now we are just discussing about the hybrid vehicle technology for two-wheelers in 2021. So the commercialized hybrid vehicle has started in 2021, but what happened till 2020 and earlier? So it was only the pure internal combustion engine. Pure internal combustion engine. Just by 2021, according to the market demand and the scenario, they have just get to switch over into hybrid mode as of now. And it was in 1920 to 35, the electric vehicle started to face its decline. So the electric vehicle started to face a decline in the time scale of 1920 to 1930. One major reason is because of the battery weight. The battery weight and the charging time and the charging capacity. So all these three terms put together pull down the market share of battery based electric vehicle to a greater percentage, and it has been completely get rid of the overall market share after 2030 or above. And once again, there came the issue when the time scale was between 1968 to 1973, where the gas price started to soar to a greater extent. So this make a very big threat among all automotive manufacturers that they need to rely on one particular nation for the import of crude oils. So this make a very big threat among the automotive manufacturers, and they have started to think about making use of alternate source of energy rather than relying on the pure crude oil or internal combustion based engine. So thereby the term electric vehicle was once again in air starting from the time scale of 1968 to 73, and it was well evident when NASA took over its lunar rover to run on pure EV. So once again, the EV term was there in news when NASA make use of its lunar rover that was able to run on pure EV. So this strikes the automotive market to a greater percentage, and it was in 1973 the next generation EV was introduced to the automotive manufacturers and the human mankind. So the General Motors developed a prototype based urban electric car. So they just developed a prototype. They just developed only a prototype based urban electric car, and it was just displayed in the first symposium of low pollution power system that was held on 1973. So from there, the electric vehicle has slowly started to gain its market share and its popularity among the human mankind and the automotive manufacturers thought process. And it was in 1997 the first hybrid car was introduced to the human mankind. So we are very much clear that it was in 1901 the hybrid vehicle was introduced, but it took merely 100 years. It was in just 2000 the first mass production hybrid vehicle was introduced to the human mankind. So for past this 100 years, only the internal combustion engine was ruling the entire world. The first mass production hybrid vehicle was from Toyota named as Pyrus. So it makes use of both the series and parallel powertrain configuration, and they make their own market share at that particular point of time. And here comes the hero of our electric vehicle as of now. So it was actually a Silicon Valley based startup. So Tesla Motors was initially a Silicon Valley based startup. They just make a very huge announcement which simply shaken most of the research and development team of the leading automotive manufacturers. They just make a statement that they will just produce a luxury electric sports car which range up to 200 plus miles. So this was a very big target at that particular point of time, and this actually initiated, or it just pushed all the automotive manufacturers at that time to accelerating or to start their work on their own electric vehicle to have a sustainable future. So from 2006 and later, the electric vehicle have slowly started to gain its particular market share at the automotive overall entire market field. So I hope now you can just have a clear view about the history of electric vehicle coupled with both internal combustion engine and hybrid vehicle. And talking about the basic definition of an electric vehicle, and vehicle propelled by an electric drivetrain draining power from a rechargeable battery or from a portable, refillable, or electrical energy source, which is manufactured for the use of public road. And talking about the key disadvantage of an electric vehicle is that it doesn't emit tailpipe emission. So EV has no tailpipe emission. We should be very much clear about this particular statement. EV has no tailpipe emission and reduced air pollution in cities such as due to CO, NOx, SOx, and particulate matter. So one thing you should make much more clear that electric vehicle won't emit emission only from the user end. Electric vehicle doesn't emit emission only from the user end. So think about among a group of 10 to 50 peoples. As of now, these 50 peoples are making use of only internal combustion engine. Later by 2030 or above, these same 50 group of peoples have started to convert their internal combustion engine to EV. So if you just think about what is the demand of electricity by 2020 and 2030 would get a rise because of the population and the penetration of EV at 2030. So all put together, the demand for electricity would get increased. To handle this particular huge demand, the power plant should make use of excess fossil fuel energy to handle this particular demand that is going to be faced in near future. So all put together, when you're just trying to switch your vehicle into EV, your particular vehicle won't emit emission that is particularly from the user end, but for producing electricity for the EV, so the power plant would emit excess emission. So the emission won't be from the user end, the emission will be from the electricity producing point. So that is how the near future is going to be, and you can just assure that sooner or later we will just get a statement from the state or the central government that each and every household should have their rooftop based solar power panel or solar based plants. So they will try to insist each and every individuality to take the responsibility and produce electricity from the solar energy and make indigenous electricity from their household itself, because whatever the demand that we are going to face by 2030 would be enormously high. So the price of electricity would get rise sooner or later. So the demand of electricity is going to be high. So all put together, we need to focus on creating excess electricity, and that should be handled in a better way. So all put together, sooner or later, we might get an announcement of having incentives for installing rooftop solar panels. Particularly, that would help us in a certain percentage in handling the future electricity demand by 2030 or later. So this is what talks about the electric vehicle. But our particular topic is not focused on the introduction of EV, because you might have heard about lot of these stuffs in the previous presentation also, and tomorrow's presentation might also talk about these terms in some way. So I have not briefed up. I will just give a brief idea about whatever the EV, but our topic is focused more on battery thermal management system. So as said earlier, let me just give you a glimpse of news. So thereby I can just pull you into the presentation in a better way. So till previous slide, I have just been discussing or repeatedly saying one particular term that electric vehicle has gained its own market share, and the penetration of EV has started to increase to one greater percentage. But here I am just giving you one interesting news that is completely controversy, completely controversy about the statement, whatever I have said earlier. So battery fire put both BMW and Ford. So this battery fire issue has put both BMW and Ford on back foot, just as the electric vehicle, just as the electric vehicle take off. So even leading manufacturers such as BMW and Ford are taking a back foot because of one particular villain, that is nothing but the battery fire issue. There is nothing but the battery fire issue. And vehicle going up flame aren't new in this electrical era. So merely 171K accident has been took place annually in US alone for past 3 years. And they just coined this particular era as the electrical era, and people have started to create memes and fun about the flame occurrence or the battery fire issues. And another interesting news that this is Hyundai electric vehicle Kona. So this is a variant of pure electric vehicle manufactured from Hyundai. And Hyundai considered the global recall of its electric vehicle Kona because of one particular issue, that is battery fire. So after reporting battery fire, so Hyundai has called upon its electric vehicle Kona. Merely they have called upon its 77,000 electric vehicle that has been affected from the time scale of September 2017 to March 2020. So they have globally recalled 77,000 vehicles to work on one particular issue, that is the battery fire. So comparing both these two statements, you can just see one particular villain that is just pulling off the electric vehicle market share at this particular point of time is the battery fire. So what is this battery fire and how we are going to treat this battery fire? So that is what my presentation talks about. And here you can just see the catastrophic failure occurrence of the electric vehicle Kona. This was a pictorial image that was captured in Canada. So where you can just see the complete vehicle has been destructed because of this battery fire issue. So this is an Hyundai electric vehicle Kona. So we are focusing more on this battery fire issue. And talking about the battery, whatever we are going to discuss is only the lithium ion battery. So by 2015, the demand for lithium ion was not too high. But by 2030, it is just predicted that the demand for lithium is also going to be much more higher. Because most of the e-vehicles, particularly talking about e-buses, commercial EV or passenger EV, all are going to rely on lithium ion batteries. We will try to understand why we are just focusing more on lithium ion batteries in the upcoming slide. But the demand for lithium is going to rise by 2030. For handling this huge demand, we need to rely on only three main nations worldwide. So one is Chile, followed by Argentina, and third one is Australia. So these are the leading nations worldwide. They are having a better reserves of lithium ion, and in dominant, the passenger vehicle is going to be having a maximum share in the lithium ion demand. So it is also aligning well with whatever the news that we have seen earlier, talking about the population of electric bikes or electric vehicles would be higher by 2030, and all those will dominantly make use of lithium ion batteries in 2030. And talking about the demand for lithium ion is higher. Whether India have the lithium resources in it? Yes. Lithium is most critical element in the EV battery. So India is also having certain reserves of lithium ions. So they are just calculated nearly 1400 tons is available in Karnataka. But even though the Chile, Australia and Argentina rule the entire lithium reserve field worldwide. And talking about the statistical data based upon the financial year 2017, merely $384 million has been utilized for the import of lithium ion batteries, and for the financial year 2019 it has been raised to about 1.2 billion. And by 2020 or later, even this percentage would get much more higher. By 2030, think about the demand that we are going to face. So all put together, lithium batteries is going to gain a very big popularity at this particular point of time. So what is the basic working of this lithium ion battery? So we need to thank Alexander Volta for the invention of the battery. So initially he just tried with the zinc and silver. So he stated that it works on the basic principle of the electrochemical potential. So the electrochemical potential says that when an atom is unstable, it has the tendency to lose an electron from its valency, from its outermost orbit. So when the atom has a tendency to lose an electron, and when you are able to make two different pathway for this ion and this electron, so this flow of electron in a copper coil would create the electricity, would gain electricity. So this what talks about the electrochemical potential. So among the electrochemical series available, so lithium is having the maximum capability. So this is the reason why lithium is highly preferred as an battery energy source material. So it says that when you are just allowed to expose the lithium either in air or water, it would immediately start to react. It would immediately start to react. So the term immediately start to react means it will immediately lose an electron. So lithium will have 3 electrons in its outermost orbit. So among that, when it's just exposed to air or water, what actually happens is it will just immediately lose an electron from its outermost orbit, and it would be get converted into lithium ion and 2 electrons. And it will have an excess electron detached from it. And what you need to do is you need to create two different pathways. So one is for the lithium ion and one is for the electron. When the electron is allowed to flow through a copper coil, the current is actually able to be produced. So this is the basic working of any battery. So whatever the battery you take, you need to detach an electron from it, and you need to provide a pathway for the flow of electron. So that is the basic idea. So among the series, the lithium is having the higher tendency to lose an electron. So as the lithium is highly unstable, they would most often try to club it with a metal oxide. So they will most often try to club it with a metal oxide. So the main reason for the higher battery price is because of the lithium and this metal oxide. So merely 30 to 60% of the price of your electric vehicle is dominantly from your batteries. So the battery is the highly cast material or the richest material in your electric vehicle. So merely 30 to 60% of your electric vehicle cost is given for your battery. So among that, as lithium is highly unstable, it would be placed inside an enclosed part that is nothing but the metal oxide. So what you should be able to do is first you need to detach the lithium from this combination. So that is a metal oxide combination. If you're able to separate the lithium atom from this combination, it would be get converted into lithium. Once it is getting converted into lithium, what actually happens is it would immediately start to react. So what happens is it would be get converted into lithium ion and an electron. So once it is getting converted into lithium ion and electron, it would immediately form lithium ion and an electron. And if you're able to provide two different pathway for the same, the flow of electron would produce electricity. So this is the basic working of an lithium ion battery. In most often case, I will just try to put it up using a small example. So assume the lithium is a highly mischievous student and cobalt is an faculty who is keenly monitoring this mischievous student. So whenever the lithium is much more closer to the faculty, he will be much more obedient. Until and unless this faculty has left the student alone and walk away, he will start his mischievous activity. So assume these two are moving for an camp for a weekend, and once the day is set and the moon is raised, what actually happens is the cobalt is the faculty and the lithium is the mischievous student. So once the day is set, what actually happens is the cobalt is moving to his dormitory to take a rest, and the lithium is moving to his the cobalt is moving to the guest house, and the lithium is moving to the dormitory to take a rest. And it is the overall guest house and the dormitory has been enclosed inside a barrier of huge wall. And outside the huge wall, you are having a small lake or a swimming pool area. So once the day is set and once the cobalt is allowed to get detached, what actually happens is this lithium would be get converted into lithium ion and electron. So once it is getting converted into lithium ion and electron, this mischievous students would try to jump over the barrier and start to make a play in the swimming pool area. So assume another assumption that you need to take into account is lithium is very thin and the electron is bit fat. So as lithium is very thin, he can just pierce through the wall or the in between the barrier and reach the swimming pool area, where electron would take the longest path to reach the swimming pool area. So the electron would take the longest path to reach the swimming pool area. So once the day is set and the morning rises and the sun rises, what actually happens is they will just get settled, move back to their original state and settle down in the dormitory. This is how you need to simply imagine the working of a lithium ion battery. Now moving into the working of a lithium ion battery, here you can just see the barrier or the wall in between is nothing but the electrolyte. The swimming pool area is nothing but the graphite. Here you can see a battery is allowed to be get attached and you will have a copper plate over here. So once the positive ions has been collected in the copper plate, from the combination of lithium cobalt, the lithium would be able to get detached from it. So once the lithium is allowed to be get detached, it would be get converted into lithium ion and an electron. So once it get detached as lithium ion and electron, lithium is positively charged and the electron is negatively charged. The electron would get stick over on the copper plate. So the blue color is nothing but the electron. So the electron will stick over on the copper plate and the electron would take the longest path to reach the swimming pool area. So this swimming pool area is nothing but the graphite. So the graphite doesn't take part in the chemical reaction. It will just act as a cushion area where the electron and the lithium can come and stay and walk away. So once you are just removing the battery and connecting the load, the reverse would happen. So the lithium would take the shortest path, that is, it will just pierce through the electrolyte and come and settle down in the graphite area, where the electron would take the longest path. So this is the basic working of a lithium ion battery. At this basic working, one greater invention was initiated. So it is that the invention of an accidental invention. So the invention of the solid electrolyte interface was invented at this particular point of time. So that is when the first time the lithium is moving or piercing through the electrolyte and come and settling down in the graphite area. What actually happens is it will just form an barrier, a strong barrier, a strong solid electrolyte layer on the outer side of the electrolyte. So the first time when lithium is piercing through the electrolyte and come and settling down on the graphite area, it will just create a strong barrier on the outer side of the electrolyte. So already the electrolyte would restrict the electron movement in the horizontal direction. Apart from that, this barrier would act as an extra barrier, extra guard to restrict the motion of electron in the horizontal direction. So our only objective is that electron should never take the shortest distance, or the electron should never travel in the horizontal direction. It should always take the longest path to reach the opposing side. Once it takes the horizontal direction, what actually happens is it results in short circuit and the overall battery might get failed and it might result in some catastrophic failure. So our only objective is that you should not give any option for the electron to move in the horizontal direction. So that is the reason why you might have heard about that you will be asked to charge your battery for 100% when you are just making your first purchase. So whenever you purchase your battery or mobile phone, you will be asked to charge it for 100% for the first time, because you will be asking all the electrons, all the lithium ions from moving from one particular direction to other particular direction. So it will just form a strong barrier. And once you are having a strong barrier, the movement of electron in the horizontal direction would be restricted. So overall, it will just try to enhance the battery life. So that is the reason why you have been asked to charge your battery 100%, either for a laptop or mobile phone, whatever it is, you will be asked to charge it for 100% because of this particular reason. Because of this particular reason. And talking about the issues related with batteries, so rechargeable lithium-ion batteries are regarded the most suitable energy storage device because it has a higher tendency to lose an electron and it is having a better place in the electrochemical series as of now. Lithium-ion batteries performance is closely related to the temperature. I will try to understand this more about in the upcoming slides. The thermal runaway is a phenomenon that lead to destructive consequences such as rapid temperature rise, gas generation, and even battery explosion. To reduce the potential risk of thermal runaway, a variety of safety mechanism has been utilized in the lithium-ion batteries. So they are trying to introduce safety pins, thermal fuse, automatic reset, shutdown separator, chemical shuttle, coatings, heat retardant materials, and electrolytes. Uh, we have clearly understood that it works on the basic principle of electrochemical reaction. So this attaching and detaching of lithium from the cobalt oxide and the flow of electrons from the outermost part and the piercing of lithium ion in the horizontal direction all put together has the tendency to create gas formation in the overall reaction. So when the battery is completely enclosed and when the gas is keep on building inside the closed chamber, what actually happens is it would create an excess pressure on the outer side of the wall and it might be completely resulted in a battery explosion. So that is the reason why most often batteries would have a small vent or a small hole on the head surface of your battery head. So because of this particular hole, the gases that is created because of this electrochemical reaction might walk away from your battery. So that is the reason why they are making use of a safety vent on the head surface. Similar to that, you can just see the formation of solid electrolyte layer on the outer side of the electrolyte. So this restricts the movement of electron in the horizontal direction, and extensive research is also working on heat retardant based separator. So inside this electrolyte, you will have the separator, and this separator is coated with heat retardant materials to handle high temperature condition. So to handle high temperature condition. So we will try to understand what is this high temperature condition in the upcoming slide. And what is this battery thermal management system? So battery is a key operating tool to drive the EV. The performance of the EV actually depends upon the performance of the battery. So it talks about the capacity of the battery, operating period, discharge rate, and power density. So one of the biggest issue is the battery is that it generates heat during charge. It generates heat during charge. So we have faced this issue most often when you're just dealing with your mobile phone. So most of us are having mobile phones, and for your kind information, all these batteries are making using only lithium based batteries. So when you just try to charge your battery in the charger plug point, and when you just touch the outer case of your battery, you can just feel the sensation of the high temperature occurrence. You can just feel the sensation of the high temperature occurrence, because when you are just charging your battery, you'll be asking the electrons to move from one particular direction to other particular direction. So this flow of electrons would obviously create heat, so that we are very much aware. And another thing is that the detachment of lithium from the metal oxide and attaching it back is actually an exothermic reaction. So it actually creates excess amount of heat. All put together, the charging creates heat. And next one is the discharge also create excess amount of heat. So here comes we will be discussing more about 1C, 2C. You might have heard about these terms in the earlier cases. So based upon the discharge rate, the heat generation would also obviously get varied. So assume you are having a mobile phone and you are installing an high-end game in it. And initially the battery percentage is 100 and you're getting much more addicted to it. So what you will be trying to do is you will be initially starting to play it for 1 hour, 2 hour and 3 hours and much more. So as the hours keep on increasing and as the discharge rate is keep on increasing, when you just touch the outer case of your battery, the heat generation would be enormously high. So when you are just increasing the discharge rate, the movement of electrons and the attaching and detaching of lithium from the metal oxide would be accelerated at a very faster pace. So this would result in a better heat generation. All put together, both charging and discharging would liberate heat in your battery. And the rated operating temperature of your EV battery is ranging from minus 40 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. The desired operating temperature is 15 to 35. So you can just able to operate your battery in the temperature zone of minus 40 to 60. But the optimum temperature range at which you need to run your battery is 15 to 35 degrees Celsius. If the temperature goes beyond 35 degrees Celsius, or if the temperature falls below 15 degrees Celsius, you need to thermally manage the system. So we are very much clear that your battery is able to operate between the temperature range of minus 40 to 60. But the optimal temperature limit is it should be able to run in the temperature zone of between 15 to 35. So what actually happens when it rises above 35 or falls below 60? So when the temperature has raised to 40 degrees Celsius, what you need to do is you need to introduce a cooling system to pull down the temperature from 40 to 35. And what happens when the temperature falls below 15 degrees Celsius? You need to introduce a heating system to raise the temperature from 0 to 15 degrees Celsius. So now what you're doing is you're just thermally managing the battery to stay close to its operating range. So this what talks about the battery thermal management system. And you should also be taken account of that the safety limit of your battery is 60 degrees Celsius. So at any point of time, your battery should not rise above 60 degrees Celsius. So talking about the different operating range of the batteries currently available in the market. So people can discuss more about the nickel cadmium, nickel metal hydride, lead acid. But our focus is mostly reliant on the lithium ion and lithium polymer based batteries. So both are having more or less the same operating temperature range, and the desired temperature range lies between 15 to 35. And for both the cases, the safety limit would vary from 60 to 70. So the safety limit of your battery is 60 to 70 and the desired operating temperature range is 15 to 35. And what would be the effect in low temperature condition? So this is a pictorial representation for a low temperature condition where I have just presented a series hybrid drivetrain. So you might have already gone through various presentations that focused on hybrid drivetrain system also. So this is a series hybrid drivetrain where you will have an internal combustion engine. From there, the rotational energy is given to a generator based upon the power consideration, the power electronics, the flow of current would be passed through the motor. From the motor, the power would be given to your N wheels. So the N wheel demand would be handled by your traction motor. So for this traction motor, the power would be generated from your internal combustion engine. So this talks about the series hybrid drivetrain. So assume this series hybrid drivetrain is in a low temperature condition. So low temperature condition talks about it is actually in minus 2 degrees Celsius. So based upon the thermodynamic condition, when the atmosphere temperature is minus 2 degrees Celsius, overall the entire vehicle temperature condition would be closer to this particular case. If that is the case, your battery pack would be minus 2 or plus 2 degrees Celsius. We are very much clear that our desired temperature limit is 15 to 35. So for this case, when the temperature falls below 15 degrees Celsius, what we need to do is we need to introduce a heating system. If you just see this pictorial representation, you will have an air blower. So this air is allowed to pass through a heater and the hot air is allowed to expose to the battery pack. So this hot exposure would raise the temperature of the battery pack, and more or less we will try to attain the desired temperature limit of 15 to 35. So this would be the case when you are just dealing with the low temperature condition. And talking about high temperature condition, we are very much aware that the safety limit would vary from 60 to 70 degrees Celsius for the lithium based batteries. So once you exceed 85 degrees Celsius, the solid electrolyte decomposition would start. So we are very much aware about what is solid electrolyte layer. It would be acting as an extra barrier on the rear side of your electrolyte, which would restrict the movement of electron in the horizontal direction. So when you give the electron a choice that either you can just move in the horizontal direction or you take the longest path to come and play over the swimming pool area, what this electron will try to do is it will just take the shortest path because it need to travel along to reach over the graphite. If you take the shortest path, it would result in a catastrophic failure. So you should never give electron a choice that you can just be able to travel in the horizontal direction. So when you raise the temperature above 85 degrees Celsius, this electrolyte layer would get decomposed, and at 120 degrees Celsius, So at 120 degrees Celsius, the graphite anode would start to get react with the electrolyte. So whatever the graphite present over here would start to get react with the electrolyte, and the cushion area, whichever the graphite present over here, would be lost, and you will have an option for the electron to move in the horizontal direction, because overall the volume of the electrolyte would get reduced. Electrolyte is the barrier. If you just reduce the volume of the electrolyte, the thickness of the electrolyte would get reduced, and there would be a huge option for the electron to move in the horizontal direction. And at 130 degrees Celsius, the separator would start to melt. So the separator is nothing but the center layer present in between the electrolyte. So this would also be an added barrier for the movement of electron in the horizontal direction. And at 140, the electrolyte volatilization would start to happen. And at 150, the cathode decomposition would happen. So think about the lithium is the mischievous student, and the cobalt is the staff. So if you just try to raise the temperature of the faculty, what you will be trying to do is you will just try to walk away from this mischievous student. So if the faculty is much more anger, he will just try to move away from this mischievous little student. So if this happens, it would be immediately get converted into lithium ion and electron. So without any restriction, the lithium is allowed to get detached from the cobalt oxide. So this is what happens when the temperature rises above 150 degrees Celsius, and once it reaches 200 degrees Celsius, the electrolyte would completely get decomposed. So if the electrolyte or the barrier has completely get decomposed, the flow of electrons would travel in the horizontal direction. But in real-time case, we need to run in differential condition. Both we will just face low temperature and high temperature. We'll try to manage it thermally and able to run it in between the temperature zone. I hope now you can understand the impact of low temperature and high temperature condition. And whatever the presentation I'm going to move further will be focusing more on high temperature condition, because in Indian condition we will be focusing more on high temperature part and rather focusing on the low temperature condition. So once the temperature falls rises above 35 degrees Celsius, we need to introduce a cooling system. This cooling system can be either done by making use of a liquid cooling, air cooling, or phase change material cooling. So these all three is having an extensive research progress at this particular point of time, but my focus is targeted more on the phase change material. So we will try to understand what is phase change material and how it is effectively used to handle this high temperature condition. So what is this phase change material? A material with significantly large value of phase change enthalpy talks about phase change material. So assume you are having a beaker of water. Assume you are having a beaker of water, which you can just be able to measure the temperature with the aid of a thermometer. So you're having a beaker of water and you have a thermometer, and in thermometer initially it is just displaying a temperature of 0 degrees Celsius. And now what you are trying to do is you are just trying to, for an assumption, so what you are trying to do is you are just trying to introduce an heater to it. So once you try to raise the temperature, you can just clearly sense the temperature rise in the thermometer. And once the heat is keep on rising, and once the temperature attains 100 degrees Celsius, we are very much aware that at 100 degrees Celsius, the water would be get converted into vapor. So this is what talks about the phase change. You are converting the liquid into vapor. You are changing the phase from liquid to vapor. So there are three phases: solid, liquid, and vapor phase. So in this case, you are just trying to convert the liquid into vapor. So this talks about the phase change. For that, you are just making use of material that talks about the phase change material. At 100 degrees Celsius, when you try to see the beaker, all the water molecules in the beaker won't be completely vaporized. So what you need to do is you need to maintain at this 100 degrees Celsius for a small time scale. So assume T is equal to 0 to T is equal to 150 seconds. So when you are just able to maintain at the same temperature limit for a prescribed time, all the water molecules in the beaker would be get converted into vapor. So here, for this, you have to maintain at a constant time. So this time is what we are going to focus on. And similarly, in the vice versa case, assume you are having a fridge and you are having a freezer box, and in the freezer box, you are having the juice for pouring water. So when you just try to pour the water and keep inside
Not audible, sir. Sir, you are not audible.
Okay, whether am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So assume you are having a freezer in your home. So in the freezer box, you have been asked to create few ice cubes. So in the ice tray, what you'll be trying to do is you'll just try to pour the water molecules in your ice tray and keep it in the freezer box. When you try to take it after 15 to 20 minutes, you can just see most of the water molecules would be get converted into ice. Most of the water molecules, and it would be completely get converted into ice. It doesn't mean that you have not attained 0°C. You have attained 0°C, but you need to constantly maintain at this 0°C for converting all your water molecules into ice. So this constant temperature for a particular time talks about the phase change material. I hope now you are able to understand the conversion of phase change and what is the importance of this time and constant temperature. So this could be very much understandable with a small math. So for the same case, this is the water at 0°C and this is the water at 100°C. When I'm just able to make a plot to calculate what is the area under this particular curve. So area under this particular curve requires an energy of merely only 1000 kilojoule per kg, and in vice versa case, so this is 0°C liquid and this is 100°C liquid and this is 100°C vapor. The water is initially at 0°C liquid over here, and at here it is 100°C liquid, and after maintaining 100°C for a time scale, that is t is equal to 0 to t is equal to, for an assumption, 156 or something. So when you are able to maintain at the same time scale, same temperature for a minimal time scale, it would be get converted from liquid to vapor. So for this particular transition, whatever the energy required is enormously high. Whatever the energy required is enormously high. So that could be understandable with a small math in the next slide. So how much amount of heat is needed to raise the temperature of 1 kg of water from 0°C to 100°C? So the same case, in a beaker, I am having water of merely 1 kg. Initially it is 0°C, and I have been asked to raise the temperature from 100°C liquid. For this particular scenario, what is the amount of heat required? So we can just try to calculate what is the heat required. So Q stands for heat. So Q is equal to mCp del T, and mass is 1 kg. The change in temperature is from 0 to 100. So that is 100. And Cp talks about the constant value. So all put together, amount of heat required is 418 into 10 power 418.6 into 10 power 3 joule. But for after the same scale, same case, you have been asked to convert the water from 100°C liquid to 100°C vapor. That is, you have been asked to completely empty the beaker. You have been asked to completely empty the beaker. If that is the case, the formula is m into LV. So mass is 1 kg and the latent heat is nothing but the hidden heat. So that for the water molecule is 2256 into 10 power 3. So the heat required to raise the water from 0° to 100°C is only 418. But for the heat required to convert the water from liquid to vapor, that is changing the phase, requires enormous amount of heat. So that's what this particular math talk about. We need to give merely 5 times higher amount of energy that required to raise the water from 0 to degree Celsius to 100°C to change its phase from liquid to vapor. So we need to pick one such material and use it effectively for the battery thermal management system. I hope now you are having a clear view about the phase change material. So one such phase change material is the organic PCM. So organic PCM is nothing but the candle in your home. So the candle in your home. So this also I'll just explain with a small example. So assume once the moon is rise and nearly 10 o'clock at night. So that is a complete power cut in your area. So what you will be trying to do is you will try to ignite a candle. So you are having a good quality candle. You are having a good quality candle. So there is a complete power shutdown for an entire night, and you're just waking up early 5 o'clock in the morning, and you can just see still a minimal percentage of candle is still igniting. So initially the candle is in solid phase, and after heating it would reach its melting point. After reaching its melting point, it would be get converted into liquid. After it is getting converted into liquid, it would be get converted into vapor. So from solid to liquid to vapor. So this is one such interesting phase change material which takes enormous amount of time. So think about the time scale. So from night 10 o'clock to morning 5 o'clock, still this material is alive. So it takes enormous amount of time to get converted from one particular phase to other particular phase. It means that you need to constantly give certain temperature to change its phase. So that can be pictorially presented over here. At initially T is 0, your wax is in liquid form. To get solidify, you need to give a time scale of around 90 degrees Celsius. So even at 30 minutes, you can just see the occurrence of solid formation on the rear side. So you can face the same, you can feel the same in the ice cube formation in your ice tray. So it doesn't mean that you have just started, you have just reached the 0 degree Celsius in your ice tray. Even you have attained the 0 degree Celsius, you need to constantly maintain at the same temperature for a time scale from 30 to 90. So merely 60 minutes you have to maintain at the same time scale to completely solidify your material. So here the phase change material is the wax. So one such interesting material is wax, and the vice versa case. At T is 0, your wax is at solid form, you are igniting it. At 10 minutes closer to the heat formation, you can just see the wax has reaches its melting point. At 20, a bigger circle. At 40, a much more bigger circle. And it takes more and more time to get converted from solid to liquid, from liquid to vapor, and completely get evaporated. So this is how the candle is actually working, and it is one such interesting phase change material. Another interesting point is this PCM, that is nothing but the wax is flammable. We are very much aware that the wax is able to get ignite, and it is having a low thermal conductivity. So you can just even place your hand close to the candle, so it won't thermally conduct heat. So that what talks about low thermal conductivity. Thermal is heat and conductivity is transfer of heat. You can even hold the candle closer to the flame. It means that it won't transfer the heat to the environment. So this is one of the greater disadvantage of the organic PCM. And focusing on the time, let me just move into one interesting study, so and give much time for the discussion. And another interesting material is inorganic PCM. So inorganic PCM can be either hydrated salts or metallic PCM. So hydrated salts are salts like this, or metallic PCM is a sponge-like structure that is made of copper meshes. So you can just see the copper meshes. So copper mesh is one such interesting inorganic PCM. So they are thermally stable and they are having higher latent heat. And one greater disadvantage is that these materials are stable, but it fails in thermal recycling. So thermal recycling talks about the heating and cooling points. So after running a number of cycles, it would reach its material property. So this talks about the inorganic PCM. So now I'll just give you one interesting study to explain this particular case. So study on high power lithium ion batteries using metal foam saturated with phase change material. So for this particular study, I have just considered a prismatic type cell. So, but most often cases, we are just not dealing with prismatic cell. As of now, we are just moving into cylindrical cells. And the reason for this could be understood in a better way when you try to walk through this particular research article. So here we are just making use of paraffin wax. So here you can just see the paraffin wax as an organic PCM, which efficient cooling technique encapsulated with a copper metal foam. So here I have given 3 cases. In case 1, we are having prismatic type batteries. There are a total of 9 number of prismatic cell, which is enclosed inside an acrylic box. And in between each prismatic cells, there are nearly 5 to 7 mm of gap. So in between each prismatic cell, there are nearly 5 to 7 mm of gap, and I have placed a thermocouple closer to cell number 5 and cell number 9 and coupled with a data acquisition system. So I can try to monitor the variation of time with respect to the temperature. So time in terms of second and temperature in terms of degree Celsius. So based upon these particular experimental setup, I'm going to conduct a small study to understand the basic working of the phase change material in the lithium ion battery cooling operation. So let me just explain it once again. I'm having a prismatic cell of total of 9 in numbers, and it has been placed inside an acrylic box, and in between each and every cell there is nearly 5 to 7 mm of gap, and I am having a thermocouple clubbed to cell number 5 and cell number 9, which would give you a data with respect to the time variation and temperature variation. So in case number 1, in between the cell, I am just only using air as a medium. So in between the battery pack, only air will be placed as a medium. And in case number 2, I have just melted the paraffin wax and poured in between the 9 cells. You can just see the paraffin wax that has been poured in between the 9 cells. And third one is I am having a copper mesh. I have dipped the copper mesh in the molten wax and placed in between the 9 cells. So here I have considered 3 cases. One, in first case only air is used as a cooling medium, and in case 2 I have just melted the paraffin wax and poured in between the prismatic cells, and in case 3 I have just tried to submerge the copper mesh inside the wax and placed in between the prismatic cell. So for visual understanding of copper mesh, it would be like this. So this is how the copper mesh would be looking like. So this is the copper mesh. So this copper mesh would be dipped inside a molten wax, and that would be placed in between the battery packs. So that would be placed inside the battery packs. I hope now you can just. Yes, sir.
The first case air
Yes.
is between the batteries. So it will be natural convection, or is there any flow?
Yeah, it would be natural. I'm not moving into forced convection.
Okay.
So this is just a brief idea. So the next slide will give you a better understanding. So first talks about the cooling using air as a natural convection. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to charge and discharging the battery and monitor the temperature for cell number 5 and cell number 9. So it is natural convection. So that talks about in between the batteries, only air is used as a medium for effective cooling. So we are very much aware that the charge and discharge would create heat. And for cell number 5 and cell number 9, I have been keenly monitoring the temperature with respect to the time. So when making a plot with respect to temperature and time, you can just see a curve that based upon charging your battery from 0 to 100% for a time scale of 100 minutes, that is a heat generation rising from atmosphere 25 degrees Celsius. So this 25 degrees Celsius is the atmospheric temperature. So because of charging, the temperature has raised from 25 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. So this we are very much aware. And after that, I'm just keeping the battery idle for next 100 minutes. And I'm just trying to discharge the battery in next 50 minutes. I'm just trying to pull the charge of the battery from 100% to 20% in next 50 minutes. So this talks about the discharge rates. I'm not moving much into it. I'm just focusing more on the implementation of PCM into it. So you can just make n number of matrix and design experiment to work this particular case. So in this particular study, what I try to do is I try to charge the battery and keep it idle for another 100 minutes, and I have tried to discharge the battery. So at the time of discharge, when I'm trying to monitor the cell temperature, the temperature has raised above 65 degrees Celsius. So for this particular case, the safety limit is noted as 65 degrees Celsius. In cell number 5, the temperature has raised above 65 degrees Celsius. So what we need to do is we need to thermally manage this particular case. So that is, we need to step down the temperature from 65 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius. So for this, what we need to do is we need to introduce a cooling system. We need to introduce a cooling system. So for introducing the cooling system, what I have tried to do is I have just tried to introduce the paraffin wax into it. So I have just tried to pour the paraffin wax into it. So when I try to pour the paraffin wax, what actually happens is till the paraffin start to reach its melting point, both the air and the wax would follow the same pattern. Both air and wax more or less follow the same pattern, but after reaching the melting point of 42 degrees Celsius, the wax would be keep on observing heat to get convert from one particular phase to other particular phase. So that you can just try to understand in a better way when trying to imagine about the role of wax that is alive from night 10 o'clock to morning 5 o'clock. So for all these time, you will be constantly giving certain amount of temperature, but until and unless you give constant amount of temperature, it won't be get completely converted from one particular phase to other particular phase. So here there is a drop down in the temperature from 65 degrees Celsius to 53 degrees Celsius because of the role of this particular phase change material. So when you just try to pour the wax in between this, once the wax started to reach its melting point, after that it would be constantly observing the temperature to change its phase from solid to liquid. So for all this time, it would be constantly observing the temperature, and this would entirely step down the temperature of your lithium-ion battery. And even at this particular case, you have not achieved the temperature limit of 35 degrees Celsius. But anyhow, you have stepped down from 65 degrees Celsius to 53 degrees Celsius. To further step down, what I have tried to do is I have just tried to incorporate a copper mesh system to this existing case. So as there is a huge variation only in the discharge profile, I have presented only the discharge profile. So at this particular point of time, it would be initially in solid till 42 degrees Celsius. After 42 degrees Celsius only, there will be a variation in both air and your cooling system that you have made use. So when you are making use of air, there will be keep on temperature rise. But when you are making use of either pure PCM or PCM with metal foam, after 42 degrees Celsius, you can just clearly feel the change in temperature. So this could be very much clearly understood. So this is a profile for a discharge rate of 1C. So initially till 42 degrees Celsius, both solid PCM or PCM with metallic foam or air, all three react in a similar fashion. After 42 degrees Celsius, your wax would start to get melt. So at this particular point only, there would be a huge change in the temperature profile. So at this time, there would be a constant temperature absorption from your paraffin wax. So this would drastically pull down the temperature of both the batteries as of compared to your air is using as a cooling medium. And after certain time scale, it would be get converted into liquid. So this time scale, you can try to safeguard your battery at a better percentage and enhance the life of your battery. So this talks about making use of paraffin effectively as a cooling medium. So combining all into one single slide, initially the temperature is above close to 68 degrees Celsius when you're just making use of only air as a medium. And when you're just trying to pour pure PCM, that is molten wax in between the cell, the temperature has stepped down to merely 53 degrees Celsius. And when you're just trying to combine metallic foam with PCM, you can just try to pull down the temperature further from 53 degrees Celsius to 48 degrees Celsius. And even further, you can just try to pull down the temperature because we are very much clear that the desired operating temperature limit is 35 degrees Celsius. But somehow we have tried to step down the temperature from 65 to 48 degrees Celsius. I hope now you are having a clear view about what is battery thermal management and how effectively the phase change material is used for the battery thermal management system. And this talks about the pictorial representation of pure PCM and pure PCM with the metallic foam. And current research progress is running through making use of cylindrical cells that is coupled with the PCM itself. So here you can just see the battery with a PCM as an outer case, which is enclosed inside an aluminum enclosure. So Q is the battery, that is a heat generating material, and PCM is the wax, and this is the aluminum enclosure. So in between this, you will have 5 to 7 mm of gap.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, sir.
In previous case, like a PCM will melt, right, during the
Yes, sir.
charging or discharging.
I'm going to finish the slide. So within next 2
Okay.
to 3 minutes, I'll just finish it and I'll just open the forum for the audience. So at that time, I'll be
Okay.
much more happier to answer your question.
Yes,
So
yes.
to have a better heat transfer rate, what they are trying to do is they are trying to combine the nanoparticle along with this PCM to have a better heat transfer rate. And people are also working on fin type structure to have enhanced heat transfer rate and copper metallic mesh coupled with the PCM to enhance the heat transfer rate. So these are the current research progress that is actually running, and extensive simulation based studies are also running with the plus type fins. So this is the PCM and green color is the battery, and this block talks about the fins. So plus type fins, B type, Y type, X type. This is CFD based simulation are running to have an optimized hybrid cooling system to effectively pull down the battery temperature. And in most often cases, I have followed this particular book and touched these different research articles, and I have also published one review article based on this particular topic. Sooner or later, I will be happy to share that particular article also with this research forum. And now I have just opened the queries to the audience, and I hope and I believe I doesn't bore you much for past 1 hour and above. And now the session is open to the audience. So to know more about me, you can just Google me as Dinesh Balasubramanian, or you can just ping me through this mail ID or contact number at any point of time. And now the session is open to the audience.
Okay. Sir, this is Digvijay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Very nice session, sir. So currently, I'm working in this BTMS system.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. And I got very much knowledge from your session.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. So previously, what I was going to ask that during charging discharging, the PCM will melt or it will change the phase. That I understood, or its enthalpy will increase. But what about its reverse process?
That is the reason why they have in the previous case also this is a base study. So because as I assured that the research forum will have different group of people, so I have not moved further into it. So I have just presented in a basic way. So whatever the question that you raise is that if the phase change material has converted its phase from solid to liquid, what would be the stability for it? So for that reason only they have tried to combine with an metallic mesh. So when you're having a metallic mesh, we can just more or less try to have the stability for this existing material. When you make use of pure PCM, once it get converted into liquid, it will lose its shape stability and it would start to get heat liberation after the stability has get varied.
So can we convert back into solid PCM in this PTMS?
It won't be much more efficient, sir, because it will lose its stability. So think about the candle. So you're having candle in your home. Initially, it would be like this. After that, it would be get converted like this. Once it is completely get solidified, liquefied. So it will just
So
lose
that,
its stability. So that is the
should
reason
be
why
in
they are
solid state.
trying to have a copper mesh coupled with it. So when
Okay.
you try to have a copper mesh with it, you can just more or less have its same structural stability. So pure PCM won't support you for a long time, but pure PCM coupled with a
It is
metallic mesh.
mandatory that PCM should be in solid.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the fin structure that you were explaining? Fins will be on which structure? On battery or in which?
On
way
the outer side
fins
of the
will be?
battery, they will try to make it. So you will have the battery, PCM, and you will have a fins attached with this PCM.
With PCM?
Yes. Here
That
you are
will
trying
be
to
attached
combine the
on
mesh with it. A
surface.
small plate-like structure would be placed close to this metallic mesh. Sorry, the PCM. You can just try to melt the PCM and solidify it and place the metallic component close to it. So by that, they are trying to make a study whether this fin will assist you in the heat transfer.
Okay. Right. Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not able to hear you, ma'am.
Sir, hello.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Hello. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you're audible, sir. You can just shoot out your question.
Sir, but I have just started my work with the battery management system, thermal management system. Just
Okay.
I would, if I am going to compare the heat pipe assisted battery thermal management system and PCM based battery thermal management system. So which will be gives as a better thermal
Sir,
management. So
these two are entirely different, sir. So you need to think in the perspective of active cooling and passive cooling. So when you are just dealing with PCM, it would be a passive cooling. So you doesn't need to give any external source of energy and ask the PCM to cool it. But when you're just making use of heat assisted pipe to cool it, you need to give excess amount of energy to circulate the coolant. So in the energy perspective, it would be completely varied. I hope now you can understand it.
okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello, sir. In one of your PPTs, you said that prismatic are now being replaced by cylindrical ones. What was the reason?
I couldn't get you, sir.
In one of your slides, you said that prismatic batteries are now being replaced, or
Sir,
cylindrical batteries
main
are more
reason is
preferred.
the surface area when you are just dealing with prismatic battery is highly restricted. So even Tesla is making use of cylindrical types of batteries. So even you can just Google about the Tesla's battery pack. So they are just making use of cylindrical type of batteries to enhance the surface area. So when you are just making use of cylindrical type in a smaller size, so merely I think so 7,800 small cells are kept inside Tesla S type of battery. Tesla S model have nearly 7,800 cells. All are having a size closer to AAA battery size. So the main reason they are trying to convert their battery from prismatic to cylindrical is that when you are just able to allow to pass through a copper coil or liquid cooling system, it would have a better surface area and you can just drastically pull down the temperature variation with the aid of this cooling system. But when you are having a prismatic type, the surface area is highly restricted, and when one particular battery fail, it would have a huge impact on the capacity. That could be handled when you are just dealing with the n number of small cylindrical cells. So that is the reason why they are just switching over from a huge prismatic type to small cylindrical cells as of now. I hope I have
Sir,
answered for
my
you.
sir, my extension, my question is to this particular discussion that you have told the given answer. Though Tesla is using the cylindrical cell, but in that they are using the heat exchanger type of cooling. So they are going to provide the heat exchanger tubings and they're using that. So why Tesla
is making use of
not
liquid
went
cooling
for
only,
an PCM material?
When you're just working with the different discharge rate, the liquid cooling is much more efficient. So this, I just prepared this particular slide for an base level research program. So as of now, they are just not effectively making use of PCM. They have moved over to liquid cooling and enhanced liquid cooling and making use of refrigerant-based material for liquid cooling. PCM can be effectively used as a cooling system, where it is a passive cooling system. It is not an active cooling system, and you doesn't need to give any extra energy to cool the system. But for effective cooling, you need to deal with both hybrid cooling system. You need to couple both liquid cooling and the solid cooling. Tesla is making use of liquid cooling system only. I
So
hope I have
this
answered
liquid
for
cooling, in liquid cooling, will the liquid comes in direct contact with cells?
No. You can just even Google the Tesla cooling profile. So you'll have a copper plate close to it, and inside the copper plate, the liquid coolant will be passed. So copper
It's like
is
it's
having a
same.
good conductivity. This battery is the heat source, and from the heat
Okay.
source, making use of this copper plate, the heat would be transferred to the liquid coolant.
Okay. So if you have
I
any
hope.
good research paper, can you please, or should I contact you through mail?
Yeah, sure. You can just ping me through this mail ID, and I'll be happy to share you. Even my article, I'll be able to share. So I have come up with one review article in Journal of Clean Earth Production, and it is actually in the production stage. Anyhow, once it
Okay.
has been completed, I will just share it with you.
Recently, sir, I have done one CFD simulation in COMSOL software
Okay.
regarding arrangement. So I have studied 3 arrangements: align, staggered, and cross.
Okay.
In that I have studied in the BTMS. So in that I found that the align arrangement is better than other ones. So up to that basic study I have done in CFD software. So have you, sir, done any work or in softwares?
As of now, I am just working both on hybrid and electric vehicle. So I
Okay.
have done base study in the BTMS, but as of now, I am concentrating more on hybrid vehicle technology. So the overall postdoctoral program is of 3 years. So first year, I'm just working on hybrid, and next 2 years, I am focusing more on BTMS. As of now, my fellow team is working on this particular part.
Okay. So I wanted to know like which CFD software is generally used in this field.
We are also dealing with COMSOL.
COMSOL. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, sir. I will contact you personally afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
And thank you
can
for
just ping me through
this
this.
session.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I believe there are further no more questions. So if you need any further clarification, you can just ping me through this mail ID and contact number at any point of time. So I would like to thank the organizer. Ma'am?
Sir has raised his hand.
Yeah.
Divya Krishnan ji, you want to say something?
अच्छा मैं तो बस सीट खाली पई आ दसी दसी किनियां दी सीट उतर गया वो तमिल तना हाँ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਓਏ ਚਲ ਇਹ ਦਿਖਾ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਲੈ ਜਾਓ ਤਾਂ ਨੇੜਿਓਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਆ ਭਾਈ
Okay, if there are no further questions. No questions? Thank you, sir. Thank you all. And I think you have gained a lot from Dinesh Subramaniam, sir. Thank you, sir, for being the part of our FDP.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So
Thank you very much
tomorrow
for
at
having me.
9:15 a.m. Tomorrow we are having 2 sessions, one at 9:15 and another at 11:30. And after that, we'll be having a feedback session, and also there will be tests from all these lectures which have been held. So that is a part of this AICT program, and the certificate will not be issued if you are not giving the test and filling the feedback.
Okay, can I leave the session now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
So that concludes our session. I thank you all